Good morning, folks. I just woke up. Look at that. But I got a beautiful text this morning. Jay Win. As you guys know, him. 510 game on 5K cap at the lodge. So let's go get breakfast, shower, and head on down to the lodge. Alright, heading on down to my favorite breakfast place. It's called Civil Goat. And you know, I hate it when it rains here in Austin. It feels like you're wearing warm clouds. It's just so muggy. Also, sweater's on backwards. Today's gonna be a good day. What's going on, folks? This is 5, 10, 25, 5K cap. We have 3 bullets with us. Let's put them to work. This first hand, it limps around to me, and I check back my option of queen, deuce of hearts in the big blind. We go 4 ways to a flop of 6 deuce deuce with 2 spades. What a start. Small blind now checks it over, and we definitely lead here. It's a really good board for big blind, although not really because I have 100% of my range here. So for that reason, I do decide to check and go for the check raise. Unfortunately, action does check through. We head to the turn. It is the 10 of hearts. Small blind now fires out an overbet of $50. Facing this sizing, I am just going to play my entire range as a call, so I toss in the call, which also invites the low jack in, and button gets out the way. Heading to the river 3 ways. It is the 5 of clubs, so 3-4 suited does get there. Small blind once again fires out a bet, and it's pretty hefty, 150. Now, I think it's pretty close between just calling or raising for value. I think if I had a lower kicker like deuce 3, this would just be a very, very, very clear call. But I think with a kicker as good as a queen, we're going to have to go with some very thin value. It's close, so I raised it on up to $500. Now low jack is in the tank, which is not what you want to see, seeing as he is the original limper, which is going to include quite a few small pocket pairs like 6s, maybe some 5s that hang on to the turn. But he does decide on a call, so good news. Small blind now gets out the way. We show our hand, and it is good. We're picking up our first pot of the day. Hijack has raised it up to $75. Small blind is called. We look down at ace-king suited in the big blind. Definitely worthy of a raise, so I make it $400 to go. Straddler gets out the way, and hijack and small blind both make the call. So we're going 3 ways to this flop, and it comes down king, queen, 4 with 2 clubs. Checks it over to me. This is a slam dunk bet. Always like to go about 1/3 here, so $400 out into the middle. Hijack folds and small blind makes a call. We're heading to the turn. It is the 3 of hearts. Small blind once again checks it over. Look over his stack. He's got around 4,000, so we're going to want to bet around $1,200 to get it all in by the river. So I fire out a bet of $1,200. Unfortunately, small blind doesn't have too much and just releases. I look down at 9-7 offsuit in the straddle and decide to defend against an early position open to 75. Going heads up to a flop of 9-7-6 2 spades. What a flop. I check it on over, and we're probably not going to go for a check raise here. It's a very coordinated flop, and there's a lot of bad turns for us, especially out of position. We're probably just going to go for check call, but under the gun checks it back. Hence the turn, it is the deuce of clubs, introducing another flush draw. I think it's most likely holding here is probably ace high, which is essentially drawing dead against us. So I want to bet an amount that ace highs can all continue. So I fire out for $50. And my opponent raised it up to $175. Seems pretty good so far. So I toss in the call. We're heading to the river. It is the 5 of diamonds. So now any 8 is a straight, which is quite unfortunate. I check it over once again, and my opponent fires out for $300. I don't think we can fold top 2 here. If he's got an 8, he's got an 8. That's just it. So I toss in the call, and we are good against the queen, jack of clubs. Turning the backdoor flush draw, doesn't get there. We pick up another $1,000 pot here. Cutoff has gone and raised it on up to $75. I look down at ace jack offsuit. Pretty high frequency re-raise cutoff first button, so I make it $250. Folds back round, and my opponent asks for how much I've got behind. Looks like I cover him by a little bit, and then goes for the 4-bet up to 675. I am a sucker for a good price. This is a very good price in position, so I am going to toss in the call here. Let's go heads up to a flop of Jack 9, 7, 2 hearts. We got top pair, top kicker. We're still losing to aces, kings, and queens, but feeling okay about my hand. Opponent now fires out a bet of 450. I think raising is okay here, but it's a little bit iffy. So I'm just going to go for the call. Let's play some turns. Turn isn't too good. It's the queen of clubs. And now my opponent fires out once again for $1,100. It's getting a little bit close here. We are going to have hands like queen jack, maybe some jack 10 that has, you know, open-enders. But I'm going to call one more time, try to get to showdown, and hope that he checks the river. So I toss in the call, we're heading to the river, and it's the ace of clubs. We make 2 pair. My opponent once again fires out another bet of $1,700. Look over his stack, he's only got around 2,000 behind. Think we're going to have to go with some thin value here. My opponent could definitely have some ace queens, some pocket aces, some pocket queens, or pocket jacks, and it kind of sucks when he does have those, but he could also have pocket kings, ace king, so I'm going to go for it. I move all in. My opponent thinks it over for a bit. He's thinking it over, and honestly, I'm in the tank, and I don't even know if I want to call or not. It's very thin, this bet. Eventually, my opponent does decide on a call. We show it's good. We're picking up this $12,000 pot with ace jack. Very nice. Early position is raised up to $75. I look down at king 10 of spades in the hijack. Since the raise came from early position, I think this hand's a little bit too weak to be re-raising, so I just toss in the call here. We do get one more caller from the straddle, so we're going 3 ways to this flop, which is kind of fun. It's king, queen, jack, all clubs. One of the gun checks it. Original raiser checks, and I'm very happy to check this back. Monotone boards, you don't want to be betting too frequently. I would probably check back almost my entire range here. So I check it back. Turn is the king of diamonds, a really good turn card. Under the gun checks. Now the original raiser fires out for 75, around 1/3. Just going to call here, and under the gun, or the straddle also calls as well. Going to the river, it is the 4 of hearts, a complete brick. Under the gun now checks, and now the original raiser fires out a slight overbet of $500. Back on me, and thinking it over, and originally I was going to call, but I just don't think call is the best option here. I think we're going to run to like ace-king a bit too often. So I thought it over for a bit, and I just decided to turn my hand into a bluff here. I still have king-queen and king-jack in my range, as well as a couple nut flushes that check back, but those are getting a little bit thin. So I am going to go for it. I look at his stack, he's got about 3,000 behind. That is my wager. I raise it on up to 3,000. Under the gun folds, and my opponent just snap folds. So we didn't put him in the blender with a hand like, I don't know, pocket jacks, which probably doesn't think for too long, or a nut flush, but I don't know, ace-king would probably have a difficult decision there. Anyways, we are picking that one up. We have 3 limps, and then we look down at ace-9 of diamonds in the straddle. Definitely worthy of raise, so I bump it on up to 150, and only the small blind calls. Heads up to a flop of queen, jack, 5 rainbow. Small blind checks it over, probably going to bet 100% here for a small size, so 125 to go. My opponent makes the call. Probably going to give up unless we get a pretty specific turn. Turn is the 8 of clubs. We do pick up a gut shot, and when he checks it over, I'm going to fire out one more bet and then give up rivers, just because I don't think he's going to hold on with a hand like jack 7 suited or something like that. So I fire out for 500. My opponent makes a pretty quick call. Hence the river, it is the ace of spades, a pretty nice card, and I think I'm going to go for some value here. But then my opponent leads out for 1,300. It was a very fast lead too. So I'm thinking it over. I think 10-9 raises at some point, and so he's probably repping king 10 here. And he limped pre-flop, so I don't think he'd do that king 10 suited. And is he going to call 150 out of position with king 10 offsuit? And I just didn't think so. So I think he's got a hand like jack 10, jack 9, maybe an 8-9, something like that. Like pair plus gut shot, and is now using this ace as like a scare card. Maybe he thinks I'm on king queen or something. So yeah, I'm just going to go with the fact that I don't think he plays king 10 pre-flop this way, and I toss in the call. And I'm very wrong because he does play king 10 this way, and he's going to hit the straight. Very nice hand. We are once again playing the same opponent. The $50 straddle is live. My opponent's raised to $150, and I look down at pocket kings on the button. Raise it on up to $500, folds back around, and my opponent does make the call. Head to a flop of ace 10, 4, 2 spades, 1 club. My opponent checks it over, and if the 4 was sort of middling, like 9 through 6, I would probably check this back, but I think this board is a little bit too good to not bet all of my range, so I fire up for 300, and my opponent makes the call. Turn is the 7 of diamonds. My opponent checks it over. This hand is just too strong to bluff and too weak to value bet, so I'm going to check it back and play some rivers. River's not bad. It's the 7 of spades, so we do have the king of spades, which is quite nice. Now my opponent fires out a bet of $900. I don't think our kings are good here, but we do have hands like king, queen, and king, jack of spades that do play this way. So I think pocket kings is going to be my only bluff using the nut flush blocker, just because ace king's going to call, and king queen offsuit is going to keep barreling the turn. So I'm going to use this as my bluff. I raise it on up to $3,000, and my opponent goes into the tank. He's thinking it over for a bit, and ultimately decides on a fold. We're going to get that one through. Ooh. We're going to pick up that last pot. That is it for episode 84. I wish I had some more hands for you guys, but I was unfortunately quite card dead for this session. Not complaining, it just is what it is. I was in for a single $5,000 buy-in, and I cashed out for $15,450 for our second 5-figure win of $10,450. This is going to bring the bankroll from $63,032 all the way up to $73,827. Now, if we do convert this back into Canadian dollars, which is what I started the bankroll challenge with, it is going to sit at $98,837. The bankroll challenge is basically complete. However, I'm going to extend it as I feel it's kind of cheesed, as 85% of this was done in America. So I'm going to change it on over to actual dollars won at the tables, regardless of currency, which will put us roughly around $79,500. So let's update those bankroll numbers right here. We are only around $20,000 away from our goal, and I've got one more month in America, so let's get this done. I will see you all in the next video over at Champions Club. I'll see you folks later.